How are you doing today? I'm your host, Eddie Muller. Last month on Noir Alley, I showed No Man of Her Own, based on a novel by Cornell Woolrich, one of the great writers of noir fiction. That was a prestige picture made at Paramount in 1950 with the sublime Barbara Stanwyck, directed by A-lister Mitchell Leisen. Today, we're crossing the tracks and venturing down Poverty Row for the TCM premiere of another Woolrich adaptation, The Guilty, released in 1947 by Monogram Pictures. The entire budget was probably less than what Paramount spent on Stanwyck's Edith Head wardrobe in No Man of Her Own. But in this case, less is more. The gritty and grimy feel of The Guilty perfectly captures the claustrophobia and paranoia of Woolrich's best short stories, typically set in the dead of night in some desolate part of the big city. This one's based on a story called Two Men in a Furnished Room. The two men, played by Don Castle and Wally Cassell, are war buddies, in their cups, living hand to mouth. But being broke is the least of their problems. More troublesome are the twin sisters they're dating, Linda and Estelle, both played by Bonita Granville. Yes, this is a story with twins, and in noir, that can only mean two things. One sister is bad, and we're never quite sure which sister is which. The Guilty is the first film produced by Jack Rather, who would become a significant figure in the entertainment business. Rather had all the qualifications necessary to break into the picture business. He had absolutely no experience, but came from a family of Texas oil millionaires. He was shrewd enough, however, to learn the ropes making low-budget films not using his own money. His personal wealth allowed him to borrow freely, and his pictures were made cheaply enough to always turn a respectable profit. One of the things that drew him into the film business was his college classmate, Don Castle, the star of today's movie. They had attended the University of Texas together, and in the late 1930s, Castle caught on at MGM as what one studio PR guy called a poor man's Clark Gable. No big roles, however, and after returning from military service, Castle's career was pretty much at a standstill. That's when his old pal Jack Rather showed up, becoming a producer specifically to rekindle his pal's career. Castle played the lead in Rather's first 4 films, and he'd also be the best man at Rather's 1947 wedding to Bonita Granville, who met Rather while she was making this film. The newlyweds made quite a team, which I'll tell you about on the backside. Granville was a child actor since the 1930s, earning a supporting actress Oscar nomination in 1936 for her performance in These Three. She was, of course, most famous for portraying teenage sleuth Nancy Drew in a series of films made at Warner Brothers in 1938 and 39. Fans of those films are in for a few queasy moments today. John Littell, who played Nancy's father, Carson Drew, appears in The Guilty as a suspicious neighbor with some unwholesome fixations on one of the twins, played by his former screen daughter. Ew. Every character in this story is suspicious, including the cop played by the redoubtable Regis Toomey, who held the patent on the role of jaded Flatfoot. Here, he's very doubtable. Co-star Wally Cassell is a drunken bundle of raw nerves as the story's most likely suspect. The script is by Robert Presnell Sr., a veteran newspaperman and screenwriter who'd only recently resumed his Hollywood career after serving with distinction in the Army's photographic unit, documenting battles in the South Pacific during World War II. Presnell had earned an Oscar nomination in 1941 for co-writing the original story, Meet John Doe. Today's film is a long way from that Frank Capra classic, but director John Reinhardt imbues this sordid affair with a palpable sense of dread and uncertainty, capturing the Woolrich vibe better than many more expensive and expansive productions. Credit also goes to cameraman Henry Sharp, who turns the barren backlot and threadbare sets into a clammy, nocturnal nightmare. This is what inspired my Film Noir Foundation to restore this film to its original dingy glory. You can only enhance a film like this so much. So welcome once again to Cornell Woolrich's world, where everyone is the guilty.